And by choosing that kind of path and really trying to specialize on the building science and the energy modeling side of things, it helped me weather through the recession. And when I think every architecture firm in the country at some point or another through 2008 to 10 were cutting jobs at some point. And being low guy on the totem pole, it was not looking good for me. And I actually was able to retain my job and have since really been able to have a lot of great opportunities like being here today to talk to you, and I attribute that all to the emerging green jobs field. So she was spot on with a lot of the information that she said, and I think that you are all advocates for healthier structures and a healthier built environment. And so I'm happy to be here today to talk to you guys about that. To tap into Brendan's presentation, you know, when I was doing my grad work and doing some part-time work at Case Snyder Kimsey in Las Vegas, and LEED was in version 2, and it was on those single attribute characteristics. And I remember things like paint, picking a paint product was a really big deal. And I had to call manufacturers, and I had to say, okay, what were your VOCs like? And that was, talk about the alphabet soup. You're going to get the VOCs, volatile organic compounds, kind of bad stuffs getting emitted from paints and finishes that you use. And I had to call them and try to find this information. And it was like pulling teeth in a lot of ways. There was quite a learning curve for getting that in the product data. Also looking for regional material sources, looking at recycled content. All these things now that you can go onto almost any manufacturer's website and pull up a PDF that's almost flashing at you on the home page. They're very forthcoming with this information now. All these years later, with LEED version 4, as Brendan was saying, the floor is being raised with building codes. And with the emergence of green codes as well, we need to keep raising the ceiling. You saw, when you looked at the curve there, project teams really have figured out how to do LEED Gold pretty easily, and many institutions and corporations, clients really call for LEED as really a starting point. And usually at silver, and a lot of teams pat themselves on the back because they can get gold pretty easily now. So here comes LEED version 4, and looking at things in a more holistic sense. And now I liken it to what the field was like in 2006. When it was difficult to find this information about VOCs. Well, now it's not just about the VOCs, we have to look at the LCA. I'm going through a lot of alphabet soup at you guys today, that's hence the title. I'll try to unpack these as we go along. So this is just to paint a picture of where we're at this present point. So still have to find the VOCs, but now we need to learn about the LCA, the life cycle assessment. Well, that's more of a process, not a product. The product would be an EPD, Environmental Product Declaration. All right, so then you got to look with your EPDs. They are all based on product category rules, PCRs. They don't address human health, so we got your HPDs, Health Product Declarations. You might need to look at the PBTs, persistent bioaccumulated toxins. I'm not going to spell out all these. I'm just here to tell you there are a lot of acronyms now. Heck, I can't even come up here and say, okay, I'm Overbey, AIA, LEED AP, PD, and C. It's like, what more can I do? I haven't found anything with a Z in it yet. I need to work on that and try to work that in there. So we're kind of in this field. We're kind of talking this language, and it gets kind of challenging actually, because it starts to become the lexicon of green building, kind of insider terminology. But to talk to clients and to try to break this stuff down into ways that make sense to them, it can become rather difficult. And when it comes to green design, it's just as much about education as it is about anything else. Another piece of alphabet soup there, C2C. So what we did at my company, we were looking recently at this decommissioned ammunition plant from World War II down in Jeffersonville, and big developers come in trying to bring in a lot of big Fortune 500 companies, big tech companies to it, and we started looking at, okay, well, we were trying to look more internationally, or trying to look at big companies. We're looking at the Fortune 500 list, and we looked at just the top 5 tech companies on that list, and started to look for their corporate sustainability policies or reports, and what kind of metrics do they track, what's important to them. And what we found was that out of the 25 we looked at, 22 of them were very outspoken about sustainability and tracking those metrics and how that's becoming a part of their corporate practice. And it's going beyond just rhetoric at this point too. They're looking at deliverables, at outcomes. And one of the big players in that arena would be Google. And who wouldn't want to have Google as a client? Who wouldn't want to have Google as an employer? It's one of the big, innovative tech industry giants right now. This is actually a photograph from one of their facilities. And you can see that this isn't a new construction project, it's a renovation. We got to looking a little bit deeper into Google specifically, and we found that just in the last couple of years, they've made huge strides towards greening their building stock. That since November of 10, they have strict materials criteria now. If you even want to have Google as a client for a green building project, know that they're going to be focusing on tenant fit-outs. They understand the value of taking the existing building stock. Instead of having all new materials and all new facilities, they're looking at existing building fabric and what they can do to utilize that. And they have a very keen focus right now on human health. And when you guys heard about the triple bottom line a while ago, and the focus in all the dialogue, seems like the trend has been, they throw in the token social side of things, but really it's about economic viability and the environmental responsibility. Well, Google's one of those trendsetters here saying, well, let's really take that social component and let's look at this. And there's, I can't get into the social justice side of things right now and all the corporations and what they're trying to do there, but at home with their employees, there's a focus too on making sure that the places where we work, the places where we live, that we have a healthy built environment. And they're trying to lead that charge. They have criteria for avoiding substances on the Living Building Challenge Red List and the EPA's Chemicals of Concern list. And you'll see language like this even in LEED version 4 and in the Living Building Challenge. And for us, on the design side, we were looking at this and we're thinking, okay, now what does this mean? Trying to unpack this a little bit. Okay, I can see this, I can see the tables, but we started digging in a little bit deeper. And so with Google, they look at a focus even on furniture and furnishings, because there's flame retardants in furniture that if a fire breaks out, emits a lot of toxins and can create an even more dangerous situation. And it doesn't need to be there. And meanwhile, when you have it in your building, after you're occupying it, the fire is, relatively speaking, pretty low likelihood that will happen if you design your buildings well. So why do we put these flame retardants into things like sofas when you're going to be exposed to that over time in a long-term sense? They require full participation in the Healthy Building Network's Pharaohs tool, and I put these logos here to the side, LEED Gold on all their projects. And we're looking at this and we're trying to figure out what's kind of going on here, how do we start to address this. And what we do is we started to unpack this, and I use Google here as an example. In 50 minutes, and you guys are getting hungry for lunch, I knew I wasn't going to have time to try to look at this thing from a lot of different case studies, but this is one that we did spend some time looking at. If you look a little bit deeper, and Google's saying, okay, it's not just enough to have the design intent of designing your buildings to have healthy finishes and furnishings that, kind of like Brenda was talking about, there's technology now. You can go out and you can measure what the actual VOCs are going to be in your facility, and Google for a few years now has made this part of their approach. This is what they do as part of their tenant fit out, and try to make sure and verify, not just through their energy and water use, but also the indoor air quality, that things are as they were designed to be. So we were curious about that health product declarations and some of these other things that are emerging out there, we got to tapping into this network and looking at what's kind of the basis here. And we saw the Healthy Building Network is a DC-based non-governmental organization that was founded back in 2010. They have a market for trying to advance best practices from an environmental, human health, and social practices, dealing with billions of dollars in material choices, and they had been at the core of the development of the Green Guide for Healthcare back in 2004. And that's actually kind of predates Lead for Healthcare, but that in itself is a rating system that had been out for some time that's just really took human health as a central sort of focus in their development, because at that point in time there was not anything related to the healthcare industry that addressed green building back in 2004. When it comes to Healthy Building Network and their collaboration with another group, Building Green, they created a materials research collaborative, and back in 2004, 2005, this is a really innovative thing. No one had really looked at this yet. And they eventually